Week 9 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few hitters I looked to buy and trade for this week. The first guy, Paul Goldschmidt of the St. Louis Cardinals. So Goldschmidt, the home runs are on par this season. The batting average has been decent, but the last few weeks we really haven't seen much out of Goldschmidt. And he's a little bit in a slump, and that's been the season for the Cardinals, ups and downs, but mostly downs on the season. So Goldschmidt, 10 home runs, 26 RBIs, 38 runs scored, 7 stolen bases, a 289 average and a 393 on base, but the last 2 weeks we haven't seen much out of him. A 205 average, 3 homers, 3 RBIs, 11 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, and a 375 batting average for Goldschmidt. So Goldschmidt last season, a monster year for him with 35 and 115 and a 317 average. And I think this season he could definitely get back to those numbers here, but obviously he's got to pick it up with the home run pace a little bit and the batting average a little bit. But like I said, most of his stats are on par right now. And while he's going on a little cold streak over the last few weeks, this is a perfect time to buy him on a little bit of discount. You're still going to have to pay a decent price, but not as high as you would have, say, early in the season. May 26th at the Guardians, 2 for 4. May 27th at the Guardians, 0 for 4. May 28th at the Guardians, 2 for 4 with a homer. May 29th versus the Royals, 0 for 3. And May 30th versus the Royals, 1 for 4 with a run. So right now, like I said, he hasn't done much over the last few weeks here as Paul Goldschmidt. But it just takes a couple at-bats and hits to get him back on track. And I definitely could see him get back on track. And right now is the time to go out there and get him, because once he's on a hot streak, again, he's Goldschmidt, you're not going to be able to buy him on a little bit of a discount. The next hit is Kyle Schwarber, the Philadelphia Phillies. So Schwarber's been on the list a few times now, and on the season, the home runs are still on a decent pace. 13 homers, 27 RBIs, 28 runs scored, but a 163 batting average and a 319 on base. In the last couple weeks here, he's way below the Mendoza line. 3 homers, 8 RBIs, 5 runs scored, a 111 average, but still a 360 on base. So right now, with Schwarber, we know he's been a low batting average guy throughout his career, but right now it's way down there, hitting under 170, which is a big problem, no doubt about it. But Schwarber, we've seen it over the last few years. It takes him just a couple home runs where he could go on a tear where he could hit 12 home runs in a month. We saw it with the Nationals a few years ago when he was on, and we saw last season in Philly him have a monster year with over 50 home runs, including the playoffs. And right now, Schwarber, while he's not doing anything, and some fantasy owners might get tired of him and drop him because of the lack of batting average, he's a guy, like I said, he could turn things around at any moment with the weather warming up and the small ballpark in Philly, because everything else is characteristic of Schwarber. Hitting for power, striking out a lot, drawing walks, but just the average is way too low right now. May 25th at the Braves, 1 for 3 in RBI. May 26th at the Braves, 0 for 4. May 27th at the Braves, 0 for 3. May 28th at the Braves, 1 for 3, a homer, 2 RBIs. May 30th at the Mets, 0 for 3. And May 31st at the Mets, 0 for 3 in that one. So right now, like I said, as the weather gets warmer and June is here now, wouldn't be surprising to me to see Kyle Schwarber go on a tear right now. So where you don't have to give up much, maybe a low-end starting pitcher or back-end hitter on your roster, I think could get the job done for a potential 40 home run guy. And right now will be the time to do it. The next guy is Rowdy Tellez of the Milwaukee Brewers. So he's a similar type of player, is Tellez, like a Kyle Schwarber, but obviously he don't have the same amount of upside as a Kyle Schwarber in terms of power and carrying your fantasy team for weeks on end. So on the season here for Tellez, still decent numbers: 12 homers, 26 RBIs, 20 runs scored, a 250 average, and a 339 on base percentage here for Rowdy Tellez. But the last couple weeks we haven't seen much out of him. 2 homers, 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored, a 233 average, and a 324 on base percentage. So right now, Tellez owned in 74% of fantasy leagues. If you're in shallow leagues, he might actually be there on your waiver wire. But another hitter with potential 30, 35 home run power. And we saw last season when he had a big year with 35 homers and 89 ribs. But another guy who's going to strike out a lot, but he's going to walk a lot as well. And like I said, if you're looking for power, you could get it on the cheap this week, I believe. Getting Tellez May 25th versus the Giants, 1 for 3. May 27th versus the Giants, 1 for 4. May 28th versus the Giants, 0 for 3. May 30th at the Jays, 0 for 2. And May 31st at the Jays, 0 for 4. So right now, definitely slumping. Here's Rowdy Tellez with only 1 hit in his last 13 at-bats here. So he's not getting the job done right now. But like I said, these players, it just takes a series or a couple games in a row to get going, and I think Tellez definitely could get going once again for fantasy owners. Like I said, the power's decent, the batting average isn't horrible in the 250s. So right now, well, he's been on a down streak a little bit. Here's Tellez. This is the time to go out there and get him. Next guy's Vinnie Pasquantino of the Kansas City Royals. So Pasquantino coming into the drafts in the offseason, decently coming into the year. 8th and 9th round, most fantasy owners will go out there and get him. And on the season, 9 homers, 26 RBIs, 23 runs scored at 267 average, and a 347 on base. So right there, not bad stats here for Vinnie Pasquantino. But a lot of people obviously really don't pay attention to Pasquantino because he's at the City Royal team. Not many people follow. And he's still a little bit of an unknown, even though last season, in half a year pretty much, with the Royals, he had solid stats, 10 homers, 26 RBIs, and a 295 average. So right here, Pasquantino, he's got major power, I believe, where he could finish the year 25, 30 home runs. He could have an average anywhere from the 265 to 290 range, I believe. And right now, where the numbers have been pretty much at a standstill over the last few weeks here, with 2 homers, 7 RBIs, and a 261 average, he's another play that could be on the breakout is Pasquantino. And like I said, not many people are in tune with this Royals team, and they might not even know the total potential of Pasquantino. So right now, while the numbers are basic, I think a decent starting pitcher could get the job done, or even another hitter that's playing over his head right now, and you think Pasquantino has more upside than the hitter you're looking to trade. May 26 versus the Nats, 1 for 5. May 27 versus the Nats, 1 for 5. May 28 versus the Nats, 0 for 4. May 29th, a big game, 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs. And May 30th at the Cardinals, 2 for 4 with a run. So right now, last 2 games, he's starting to get it going, is Pasquantino. And he's got a good series coming up versus the Rockies coming to Kansas City, where they're one of the worst pitching staffs in all Major League Baseball. So right here, going into the weekend series, I think that's good for Pasquantino, and the numbers could bump up. So right now, while he's a little bit slumping, this is the time to get him. In the 5th and final hit I look to buy and trade for this week's Matt Chapman of the Toronto Blue Jays. So Chapman, in April, he was on a tear, but now in May, things have definitely slowed down for Chapman. But overall, his numbers are still solid on the year. 7 homers, 28 RBIs, 28 runs scored, a 284 average, and a 364 on base. But the last month, like I mentioned, he's hit way under the Mendoza line. 2 homers, 7 RBIs, a stolen base, 11 runs scored, a 190 average, and a 265 on base. So right there, those are horrible numbers in the last month for Chapman. But we know the potential upside. A 25 to 30 home run hitter. He's a guy that's been healthy mostly throughout his career, except that one season with the hip injury with the Oakland Athletics a few years ago. But like I said, he's got good upside. He hits in a good lineup. And last year, even on a down year, he went for 27 and 76 on only a 229 average. So right now, Chapman, it's just going to take him a few at-bats, I think, to get things going. And the last few games, it looks like he's starting to get out of it a little bit. May 25th at the Rays, 0 for 4. May 26th at the Twins, 0 for 4. May 27th at the Twins, 0 for 4. May 28th at the Twins, 1 for 2 with a run. May 30th versus the Brewers, 1 for 4, run and a rib. And May 31st versus the Brewers, 2 for 4 with a run. So right now, some good ball games put together over the last few outings here for Chapman. But the power's been way down, where he hasn't hit a home run since May 23rd and 21st. The last 2 homers he hit was Chapman. But besides that, the whole month of May, he's pretty much been quiet. So right now, while he's slumping his Chapman, but we know the potential upside and the value he could give, especially hitting that lineup, this is a time to go out there and buy him, because if he gets hot once again in June, you know the numbers he's put up. So that's a few hitters I look to buy and trade for in Week 9 of the fantasy baseball season.